This is what people don't tell you about kit car ownership. And after a full year with this thing, I can tell you exactly why I understand why people love them so much. Okay, well, let's start with expectation versus reality of owning a kit car. It's not like I'd gone into this completely blind. I knew a bit about cars already. I'd had quite a lot. So I'd had Cosworth Sleek GT4s, Porsches, all sorts of bits and pieces. But I wanted something really, really light. I wanted something that was quite visceral. So I had a bit of an idea of what the situation was that I was going to get myself into. I suppose the reality of how much attention you get in a bright yellow kit car is not quite what I imagined. The reality is that everybody looks at you. Everybody. I mean, some people might like that. Some people might not like that. It's a little bit of fun, but you do get a lot of people sort of coming up to you, like if you're filling up with petrol or whatever. Oh, is it a Caterham? What is it? The amount of times I've been asked, is it a Caterham, is annoying. And it's like, I know it's a Westfield Mega Blade, it's a bike engine Westfield. And then they start to glaze over and you start losing them. You know, that's understandable. But yeah, you do get a lot of attention. I knew it would do anyway, but the reality of driving something like this, that's very loud, very low, and in this case, very yellow, yeah, you get a lot of people looking at you. So yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. It's more about the driving. Not really too fussed about what people think. If you like my car, don't like my car, it doesn't really bother me in any way. But it might bother some other people, the amount of attention that they get. Saying that, I wouldn't want to be driving this, I don't know, through a city centre or something like that, through London or something like that would just be an absolute nightmare, sat in traffic. And in my car, it doesn't have a full windscreen, it just has an aero screen, so I wear a helmet. So sitting in traffic, wearing a helmet, and you know, you've got a 4x4 next to you and there's a kid laughing and pointing, look at that weird car. I don't know, maybe that would not be great. So it's really a case of, you know, for me, getting onto the country lanes and I enjoy myself from there onward, really. Not really a city car. Okay. Now, I was expecting a light car to be quite focused. I have had lightish cars before. I've had modified classic minis, so big engined classic minis, and I did a turbo conversion on a brown mini once. Kept an 850 badge on the back just for a bit of fun. But yeah, I've been in sort of lightish cars that had good power to weight ratio, but not quite as good as this has. I was expecting good, almost telepathic like steering. I was expecting powerful brakes. Given the weight of the car, you don't really need massive brakes. But I was expecting to have good, strong brakes and good grip as well. The reality is they are, it's off the scale. The steering is very good. I have had slightly better steering, I do have to say. I had a fully modified Mark 1 MX-5 that I did a turbo conversion on and did all the suspension on, and that had no power steering, and that had particularly good pointy steering. This one does as well, but at the moment it's got 205 section front tyres. Whoever's built it has over-tired this car, so given the weight of it, it doesn't need 205 profile tyres, in my opinion, 185 profile tyres are enough for something that weighs about 440 kilograms, 450 kilograms. So a modification in the future is going to be going down to a 185/60/13 tyre. It'll have less rotating weight on the wheel, a little bit more response. It'll be a little more darty, less weight on the front. I think that will bring it into the, chef's kiss sort of perfect steering. At the minute, it's not quite there, but it's very, very close. It does have a quick rack on this one as well. So, you only need a small amount of steering input. But yeah, it's nearly there. In terms of acceleration, this car isn't like the fastest of bike-engined Westfields that you can get. There are a lot of people that have more modern bike engines, sort of like R1 engines, ZX12R engines, Mega Booster engines. They must be an absolute riot, because I never feel like I need more power in this, to be honest with you. With a bike engine, you have the sequential close ratio 6-speed gearbox as well. And with the low weight, it goes like a scolded cat. It doesn't hang about at all. Is it fast after 80 miles an hour? No, it starts tapering off. You have poor aerodynamics and what is at the end of the day quite low horsepower. But in terms of acceleration, which is what I enjoy bursts of acceleration. I like country lane driving, all within safe limits and, at the right time, right place. You know the score. But, going around a country lane, keeping it second gear around a corner and then planting it, yes, it goes. It really, really goes. And it screams to 12,000 RPM as well. And then because it's a bike engine car, you can actually do a clutchless gear change. So you don't need your clutch, you can just bang into the next gear, because if you don't already know, bike engines can just have clutchless gear changes. They're sequential gearboxes. So you can just go straight into the next gear and it's straight on the power again. That's quite addictive, even though it's a lowish power kit car. There are many that, have like MX-5 turbo engines in, XE engines, Ford Duratex, Sigma engines that have more power, but some of those are still, quite a bit heavier as well. So because the bike engine is so light, particularly a Fireblade engine is 65 kilograms, I believe, and that's including its gearbox. That's very, very light. So you claw it back a little bit with a bike engine car. And as I say, power to weight ratio, I think is about 280 horsepower per tonne, something like that, which is more than enough. So the expectation was that it's going to be a fast, enjoyable car. It's going to be very visceral. Reality, cold blimey governor, yeah, it is. Yes, it is. It is. I'll tell you actually. The first few runs I had in this car, I came back, because it's an Aeroscreen car, perhaps you get more of that sort of experience. You have the wind rushing past you, wear a helmet, it's very loud, it's revving to 12,000 RPM. I came back from the first few drives, and honestly, there's so much adrenaline and sort of such a rush. I needed like a little sit down. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but like, I just want a little bit of quiet and, a little cup of tea and, just like a little moment. But yeah, it is an adrenaline rush. And I guess this is the sort of stuff, that bikers get. It's like a full-on rush of, your senses, really. So yeah, like no other car that I've had before, and I've had a lot of cars. I've had a lot of performance cars, as I mentioned. I only touched the very tip of the iceberg how many cars I've had. I've had lots of performance cars. I've modified a lot. I've built a lot of engines for cars. I've done turbo conversions on things. And yes, some of them in a straight line probably would have the advantage over this. But this feels the fastest and feels the most engaging and enjoyable and completely mad. And I'm talking from the point of view of the bike engine car, but I can imagine, a Vauxhall XE engined one, or even like a well-tuned Pinto they must still be absolutely just fantastic fun. So if you want just like a riot of the senses when you're driving a car, yeah, I mean, you're going to get it if you buy a kit car.
Okay.
Expectation, are they a pain to get into versus reality? Initially, you feel like you're, I don't know, trying to get into like a 2 centimetre box. But after a little while, you do get used to it actually. It's not too bad. I don't know if you get like a muscle memory. It's like bikers as well, you know, that they're quite used to sort of like almost half hopping onto a bike, you know, that they have to lift the leg quite high. You just get used to it. So getting into it is not so much of an issue. I'm 6'3" and I fit into this Westfield Mega Blade, which is based on a wide chassis. Basically, it's the most room that you can get on the Westfields, cabin wise. And yeah, I do fit in it. There are modifications you can do. You can lower floors, you can put different seats in them, things like that. You can move your steering forward or whatever, you know, to get comfortable. And those are all little finishing touches. But basic ingredients, yes, I fit. It's not an issue at all. The only thing you do need to do in something like this is wear slim shoes because the pedal box is quite narrow. If you have clown shoes, you're not going to be able to drive this, and you know it's just a reality. I'm sort of about 10, size 10, and with sort of like I wear like canvas sort of shoes, like Adidas sort of canvas shoes. Other brands are available. Don't you hate it when people say that? Yeah, and being a slim shoe, it's absolutely fine. You can get in between pedals. You can rest your clutch sort of foot underneath the pedal as well and get under it. With larger, wider shoes, it's just not happening. You end up like always overlapping on your pedals. So yeah, not too bad to get into. You do get used to it. If you are sort of likely to get like a bad back or you've had injuries in the past, I guess it's like anything in life. Pain versus pleasure and all that lot. I don't know. Have a few painkillers, whatever before. You know, if you really want to make it work, you will do. If you've got real back problems, you know, maybe it's not quite the right car. That's kind of up to you, really. They do vary an awful lot in terms of cabin space. I've sat in a couple of other Westfields, only Westfields really, and some of those have felt very tight. One of them had the Westfield Turbo seats, they're called, I think. They're sort of like black leather seats and they're sort of quite sculpted, they're quite sort of desirable, but yeah, it wasn't great for me. My seats are just fiberglass shell, very lightweight seats, just sort of contoured, and you just sort of sit in them, and there's very minimal. You know, it's literally like a centimetre of foam sort of padding. But as a result, I do sit quite low. I do have quite a lot of space. I could put the seat all the way back. So yeah, not that bad really in terms of getting into and out of. First few times I sort of filled up with fuel. You do find yourself sort of almost like doing a Jeremy Clarkson where you sort of like fall out of the car. It is what it is, I mean, who cares? I mean, someone laughs at you, I don't care. You know, somebody laughs at me trying to climb out of a car, doesn't matter. You know, I'm having fun, I've got a kit car, so screw it. Right, what's next? Okay, reliability, expectation versus reality. There's an expectation that they're going to be a pain in the arse. Somebody's screwed it together with plasticine or something, or you know, maybe they've made an Airfix model and they thought they'd make a car and it was a bit of a jump for them, and maybe, you know, the car starts shaking to pieces, they've got to put bolts in, they're left with, you know, 100 bolts left over, and you know, that sort of thing. There is maybe a certain amount of truth in that, and that is only because these are built to different standards. So builder of the car, unless you're building it yourself, you don't really know what sort of job they've done unless you have a proper good look over the car and you start to get a bit of an impression sort of from documentation and things like that as to the job that they've done. On this car, it was built over a period of 6 years for whatever reason. Everything, and I mean everything, was documented. Wheel bearing numbers, the wiring has all been individually labelled, saying exactly what it is. I have so much paperwork, and it was built extremely well. The only bad thing really was that for whatever reason, this has a large open sausage filter, is what you would call it, because they're on bike carburetors. The original builder, for whatever reason, didn't put the ram pipes in that they should have in. I don't know if they thought that it wouldn't clear the filter or something, but as a result, the fueling wasn't quite right. So I've changed that. Everything else that I found on this car has been absolutely perfectly built, nicely done. And that is kind of a thing with kit car ownership, is you just have to have a bit of an idea about cars in the first place. You can't be completely clueless. You've got to have a little bit of an idea about cars to understand, oh, that needs to be tightened up, I need to check that now and again. When you go and have a look at a prospective car, if you don't have that knowledge, take somebody with you that can have a really good look over it, have a look at the documentation, how it's been built, how it's been documented during that build. Were they very passionate, or did they just throw it together because they thought it would be a bit of fun? You just get a bit of a feeling. And in terms of, I guess, like the reality and the reliability of this car, the only thing I've really had is an issue with the fog light switch. I've had to replace the clutch because it's starting to slip, but that's more of a maintenance issue. Yeah, I've had no real problems at all. I suppose it's relative to how many miles you do. These don't get used that much, but you do still get these sort of things. Kit cars, someone's made it in a shed and everything. To make one of these cars, you have to have a bit of an idea of what you're doing. You can't just like completely screw it together with no idea at all. There needs to be a certain amount of skill in the first place for someone to take on something like this and actually finish it, do the wiring and, get all the bodywork properly lined up and, do all the riveting, all that sort of stuff. And the reality is, reliability has been great. No problems at all. It's never left me stranded. It's an old school bike engine with carburetors. I quite like that. I'd rather be fiddling about with carbs than plugging into a laptop and like that. That's just me. I'm more old school. I prefer to sort of get more hands on and do that. Reliability, absolutely fine. It's a bit like people, always like TVRs. That's like this whole sort of thing of like, oh, they're terrible. They'll break down all the time. I've spoken to quite a few TVR owners that as long as you keep on top of the maintenance and you do sort of preventative maintenance, they're absolutely fine. Reputations aren't always, I don't know. Take it with a pinch of salt. Make your own mind up. Speak to the right sort of people that actually have the cars, rather than motoring journalists and things like that who like to be very, I don't know, a bit over the top sometimes with their opinions, a bit sort of close to the wire and stuff, to try and sort of get emotional responses. What have we got next? Let's have a think. Okay, costs, expectation versus reality. I thought quite a lightweight car would be quite cheap in the first place, having had sort of lightish cars before, which I touched on. I was aware that they don't go through brake, pads and discs so quickly as heavier cars. Your tyres get much more life. You can go on a track day generally and still not really have any issues and drive home, unless you're absolutely like really bad with your lines and stuff. But yeah, I thought it'd be pretty cheap, and the reality is it is really cheap. I service it myself. I use decent oil. With a bike engine, it is so easy to do oil changes, and the car is so light, you don't have that anxiety of jacking up a heavy car, which I sometimes have had. I had a much heavier car that once collapsed on its sill, and it really sort of, I don't know, once that sort of happens, you sort of, and it did have axle stands and stuff. I was fine, obviously, I'm here. But I don't know, it changes how you think about, what might happen and stuff, because it could happen. You do have to be very careful. So a lighter car, particular bike engine and general kit car, nice and easy to jack up, easy to service. You can do it in a single garage. This is the garage I'm in now is just a sort of new build single garage. It's like 2.4 meters wide. I park it close to one side, and I've got loads of space to work on the car. It's not an issue at all. I can do brakes myself. I can do whatever I need to, really. I've replaced the clutch. I've given it a service, and that's all it's needed. That doesn't cost very much. I put some upbraided clutch springs in mine because I had a little bit of clutch slip. They were like 25 quid, I think. The oil, I think it's like sort of 50, 60 quid. Oil and filter. Plugs, again, quite cheap. And that applies to most kit car engines examples as well. Your Pintos, your Zetec, all this sort of stuff. They're still very cheap, to maintain yourself. So costs are really low. You don't go through brakes. I've still got loads of brake pad, loads of brake discs. Even things like tyres as well. Tyre wear is really low because these cars are so light. They just don't go through tyres very quickly. They have like a really impressive life. Fuel as well. Again, I do mention that my car is a bike engine one. In terms of fuel consumption, because it's a 893cc bike engine, it's actually really good. You can sort of put 25 pounds in it and go for a bit of a hoon in the afternoon, and probably still come back with a little bit of fuel as well. That's just an ingredient because it's so light and a small engine in this case. But I do think other kit cars as well, I've heard good reports that, because they're so light, again, they're pretty good on fuel. If you're just cruising around and everything, even your 2 litre base sort of kit cars, on individual throttle bodies and everything like that, if you're just cruising, you're not like completely going for it everywhere, they could be pretty good on fuel. Certainly, like I have a Porsche 996 Carrera 4S, and if I put 25 quid of fuel in that and went for a bit of a drive, a bit of a fun drive, it would be gone in no time at all. So really the biggest issue is just usability, and that's probably more the extreme version of a kit car that I have, that doesn't really have any weather gear or anything like that, doesn't have a full-on windscreen or heater. And also the fact that, it's so lightweight, it's got sort of semi-slick tyres, things like that. So for my car, it's a bit of a pain because I live in Cumbria where it rains all the time. So I don't use it as much as I'd like to. That's the only issue I've had in the 1 year of ownership, has literally just been the weather. As I say, it rains every bloody day in Cumbria practically. It doesn't really, but sometimes it feels that way. And we do get some sunny days as well. It's not all that bad. Summer does tend to be quite nice, and we do get some good sunny days. And it's a case of whenever you have any decent weather, you have to make the most of it and you have to use it. And the days when it starts getting colder and wetter, I think it's like just getting used to putting it into the garage if you've got one, and doing bits and pieces on them, having a bit of a project, or upgrading the brakes, or I'm going to service it, I'm going to put a higher ratio diff in it or something like that, I'm going to polish the cylinder head. Having projects that you're working on the car, so you're still sort of involved with the car when the weather is really crappy, you can't take it out, kind of makes it better, because you get more excited about when you can. And that day when it is sunny, it's great the first time you get to take it out, particularly after winter and everything like that. So that is the only real issue that I've had. It's literally the weather. And that, as I say, it's because mine's such an extreme one. Extreme, and it's terrible in most weathers. A lot of other kit cars can have roofs, can have windscreens, can have heaters, so quite a bit different to this one. And that's the only issue that I have. You are aware that you're in something that is perhaps not the best in a crash. That's one of those sort of things. The chassis are quite strong. They wouldn't do very well from side impact, I imagine. So as a result, you tend to, I think at least, drive it as if you were a biker. So you anticipate, oh, there's a guy at this junction coming up to me. If I anticipate that he's going to be an idiot and he's going to pull out, what's my sort of, where am I going to go? If I slow down a little bit, it gives me a bit more space just in case he does. It's anticipating, reading the road a little bit further ahead. Is it a possibility that there's a tractor around this corner and things like that? Backing off a little bit. And you start to, I'm not a biker, I would have loved to have been a biker, but I can't be bothered doing the licence and all that lot. It's too much for a faff, and I don't have the patience anymore. But I would have loved to have been a biker. But I imagine the way that they ride is a similar sort of way, in that there's more self-preservation than when you're in a big tin box, with sort of 18 airbags or whatever, ABS, all that sort of stuff. You do drive slightly different. Yeah, honestly, I can just recommend it wholeheartedly. I mean, it is so much fun. I was looking at like Lotus Elises and things like that, and I still couldn't quite get into it because they weren't quite extreme enough engine-wise. I quite like a full-on engine, something that's got throttle bodies, or a set of good carbs on it or something like that, revs quickly, and the Lotus Elises I was looking at were kind of like the lower end sort of stuff, and for half the price I've got something that I think is probably a more extreme driving experience than even a Lotus Elise, which has this godlike steering feel that a lot of people talk about, but you're still having to change gear at 6,500 or 7,000. You're not revving to 12,000 RPM and then going straight to the next gear with a clutchless gear change, and doing it for half the money of pretty much the cheapest Lotus Elise you can get. Value for money is off the scale. You really would have to get something like a Ferrari or Lamborghini or something like that to match the kind of thrill and enjoyment, I think, of this car. So value for money is off the scale. If you can do bits like it yourself, you can service it. As I say, preventative maintenance, keeping an eye on things, it's just win-win. They fit in a tiny, crappy, new build garage. Yeah, they're brilliant. I totally recommend that you get one. And when you drive it, come back and comment on this video and tell me that I was wrong, because I bet you won't. All right, that's it for today. We've got more content coming. We're really ramping up the videos for the rest of 2026. We're going to be going into Porsche content next. The Porsche 996 is going to get a bit of content, and we have a new car in the household, which we're going to reveal in the next week. Quite a surprising little car, actually, this next one. I'll keep it stum for now, but if you're not already, please consider liking and subscribing. We're a tiny little channel. We're not even monetized or anything like that. It's more of a hobby. It's a little bit of fun. It's sort of reaching out to other car enthusiasts. If you don't like it, I'm sorry you haven't liked the video. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing. I would hugely appreciate it. And that's it. Okay, take care everyone.